All right.
Okay, finish this siman and the next siman, the first four.
Okay. So Siman Pei Gimel, Heka Mechitzas Lemahani Ela Kashukav Ladira. So surrounding mechitzas, making mechitzas only helps when it's done for people living in there. So Siv Gimel is what we're up to. Mokum Shemukov Shalei L'Shem Dira. If you have a place, but they built the fences not for living purposes. For who ain't a gadol mi beis asayim, and it's not bigger than beis asayim. Shumuta l'talta b'saycha, you're allowed to carry in there. Yesh b'samach loy chotzer. So now if there's a chotzer bordering onto this karfa, mutter gamken l'haitzim mitaycha l'chotzer. You can carry from there to the chotzer. Umay chotzer l'saycha. Kalim sheshavsa b'saycha. You're allowed to move kalim that are in there, that are in the yard from before Shabbos. I have a chotzer in the chotzer ki neshav l'shus achas because it's considered one rishus in my chotzer. Meaning, even though it's a karfif together with the chotzer, I will ain't a rishus achas in my bias, but it's not one rishus with the house. So kalim sheshas b'saycha also the kalim that are in the house you're not allowed to move. Meaning, only the kalim that are in the yard before Shabbos can you move them in and out of the karfif. Shakelim sheshaz b'seicha also lachnis on l'seicha bias. Akelim sheshaz b'bias also lachnis on l'sham. Right, none of that. You can't transfer from the house to the yard. Dalid. Malkum shukav shaloi l'shem dira. Let's say you have something that's surrounded for shaloi l'shem dira. Daino shem matchila hikav mechitzas. Initially, it was surrounded with mechitzas v'akar b'ano sham beis dira, and then you built the house. Meaning, let's say you went. Now we were saying before the carpus there. It's a karfif, not meant for living, and now you decide to go build a house. Or then the guy decides to make a doorway from his house into the karfif. So how do you go make it mukav ladira? So yifritz b'mechitzas makom yasser al esar amas. You make a hole in the wall, in the fence, more than 10 amas, which we learned yesterday. A hole bigger than 10 amas makes the whole thing possible. 10 amas is considered an opening, and more than that, it's considered is a pirza, and it's no good. So once you make an opening that big, then the mechitzas are batal, and then you go and close up the wall, and then it's considered mukaf ladira. Hey, if you have a chatzar that's bigger than 2 saw, and they planted trees there. Meaning you had a regular chatzar, and then you planted trees. Afilu berubai, even if you did most of the property, that's not considered batal from living. Still considered mukal. Meaning you would think that because you built all these you planted all these trees, so you think, okay, now it's a forest now, it's not meant for anybody to live. But the Kitzur says, no, that's not the case. Shekain derech adam l'stoifif b'tzeli lonis, because there's a derech of people to sit under the shade of trees. Aval im zarabayzrayim, but if you plant plants, so that's not something normally people live amongst. If it's in the majority of the yard, even if it's not in one spot, it's spread out. The dira is considered batal, v'chashav kulay kagina, and the whole thing is considered like a garden. Imhu b'muad hachatzer, but it's only in a small part of the chatzer. Imhu pachas mi beis sasayim. If it's less than 2 saw, like we said above, batal l'gavi hachatzer, it's batal to the chatzer, v'kulay dina kachatzer. The whole thing has a din of the chatzer, and everything is fine. Avalim hu yaisem beis sasayim, but if it's more than 2 saw, b'makam echad haremakam azera kamoy carmelis, then the place where the seeds are, like a carmelis, asham and a chatzar, and the rest of the chatzar reiv paretz b'miluay l'makam aser. That means it's totally open to some place that you're not allowed to carry because it's not hukaf ladira. Then you can't even carry in the chatzar, right? Or because it's lost its status as a hukaf ladira. You have a yard that doesn't have beis asayim, or a little bit less, and you planted some of it, it's also considered going after the roiv. Vim ruba is a ruah. And if the majority is planted, even though it's mutter to take, you're allowed to carry there. Kivan shena yosem b'esasayim, since it's not more than 2 beisam, kalim shesavsu b'bayis, kalim that are in the house, also lahaitzi yisham, you're not allowed to carry out there. Commercial is barber sif gimel, like we said before. V'lechein tzarich lasis mechitza fnei agina. If you want to carry in your yard, you're gonna have to make a wall or a partition in front of the yard. That would be mutter to then carry from the house to the yard. Okay, that's not so negeya. Pei dalid is much more negeya. So dine haitzas derech malbush v'tashit, carrying as a malbush and a tachshit. I'm sorry, it's really not so negeya because everybody uses the eruv. So therefore, there's a non-issue. These are also non-issues. Right? So what's going to be dependent on, meaning can you wear jewelry? Can you wear a watch? What it's going to be dependent on, whether it's the norm. Right? Is it the norm? Is it not? And also there's another concern that are you going to take it off to show somebody or something like that? So let's see. So by Yud Sifim, there's 19 Sifim in this. So Aleph. If it's not considered clothing and it's not considered jewelry, also lotzis by Lushus Arabim or the Carmelis, it's also to go out with it to Lushus Arabim or even to a Carmelis, which is the Rabbanon. Also lotzis b'machar atchuva v'vigdo, you're not allowed to go out with a needle that's pinned in your clothing, even if it doesn't have a hole in it. Meaning a one with a hole is meant for sewing. So that's certainly not the derech. But even in a needle that's not meant for sewing, you're still not allowed to. Even if you need it for your clothing. By a man, you should be machmer. Meaning even though it's closing your clothing, right? But because a man doesn't normally use these type of things, he shouldn't go out like that. But a woman, since a woman needs to hold on to her knots, literally, sort of like the kerchiefs or things like that, so that's what they do. They pin it on so it stays on. They're allowed to go out with it derech levisha. But even women, only with a needle that doesn't have a hole. But not with a needle that has a hole in it, because that's meant for sewing, and it's not meant to go out like that. Even with jewelry, there's also things that the Chacham said is not allowed to go. To go out into the public. Yesh takshitin shasula noshim. There are some takshitin that are also for men, but yesh takshitin shasula noshim, and there's certain things that are also for women. V'hainu takshitin sheyesh lochus shem tesirim laharoisan. If there's any type of jewelry that the woman may remove to show it, so then we're not going to allow her to go out with it because we're afraid that she's going to carry with it. You got a number? What? Somebody say something? Or was that a mistake? Nowadays the minig is to be matter jewelry. The Pais can give all sorts of reasons and justifications. So some of the justifications are that there's no real Rishus Harabim Deraisa, which he said in the last simon or a few simonim ago. And nowadays people don't take off their jewelry to show it. And Yerushalayim should be machmer on himself. A man should not go out with a ring that does not have a seal, like like a ring that shows which part of club you're part of, that. Because if it's part of the seal, so then that's what you wear. It's like an identity. But if it doesn't have a seal, then that's considered an extra burden. You shouldn't carry a pocket watch, even if it's got the chain and it's tied onto you, shehu noise al tzavari, that he's carrying it on his neck, who tachshit, and it's considered a tachshit. Aval a kli shois hamunach b'seicha kiss, but meaning even that is also, but a kli shois hamunach b'seicha kiss havi masav ein leheter. Then for that there's no heter at all. Meaning to carry a watch that's tied around you, etc. So then maybe you have a heter, right? But not if it's just in your pocket. That's for sure. That's just carrying. Now, what about a wristwatch? So Ramesha writes a wristwatch you should not wear. Right? Even though Me'ikra din, it's okay. Now nowadays that people, watches as like a jewelry thing. So there are shitas out there that say that if you'd wear the watch when it was broken, then it's considered mama's jewelry. To have the watch on stam because you want to tell time, that's no good because that's not a tachshit. Even though it's just on your wrist, that's not considered a tachshit. That's just a way for you to tell time. So there's no heter for that. So they say that if you'd use it broken, then you'd be okay.
Well, I heard Reb Chaim told like watches they were jewelry, like he wouldn't shake anybody's hand who had a watch.
Yeah, but that's true. But that's not because I don't know if he didn't shake the hand, but yeah, he felt that men wearing watches is ladies' jewelry. It's a big chiddush. It's a big chiddush to say that because you see clearly from here, and according to Kitzur, that men wore rings, right? So it's really totally in the society what they do. So I don't know. If you have a silver key, right? This is what you get in those what do you call tie clips. Even though the silver, right, and you're using it for a good reason, as to open the door, since it's all meaning it's really a key, which is considered carrying. But since they also make it into a tachshit, like a tie clip, unless it's with Shabbos, the minhag is to go out within Shabbos. Avabote naim, glasses. Even if it's silver, also lots of men you're not allowed to go out with glasses. Now that's because they didn't have the arms on the glasses, as you know from all the old pictures that rested on their nose. So there was a very strong chance you can end up carrying it if you wear those. But once you have arms, then it's okay. But there are those that hold you still can't do it. Some old school, I have brothers-in-law who do not wear glasses in the street on Shabbos. They have one set of glasses in shul and one here and one there and whatever. But sunglasses is not so pashut at all, because meaning the heter for glasses, because you need it. You're not going to take it off. You're not going to get rid of it. But sunglasses you may, and reading glasses certainly you cannot wear in the street. Again, we have Erevin, so it's really not so negaya. Dalit. Also, lisha lasses begach al tzeifa. It's also for a woman to take clothing and put it onto her shawl. A man cannot take a bag and put it onto his hat because of the rain. Because that's not considered clothing. You're putting it on in order to protect your clothing. That's not considered clothing. So therefore it's not allowed. But if it's serving a dual purpose, it's protecting your clothing and it's also protecting you from the rain, then that would be mutter.
So like those hat covers.
So those hat covers are
like
also
before the Shane code
Kitzur
came out. So you have the hat covers.
Right. So the hat covers l'chayra are also according to the Kitzur. Right, and Ramesha says the same thing. You're not allowed to wear those hat covers.
It's the same thing with the Shane coat. Shane coat's doing the same thing.
But the Shane coat's attached to your coat, and also the Shane coat could at least protect you. It's a very large hood, so it could protect your body from the rain. But the hat covers, that's already more schwer. All right, and what about boots? Not boots. What do you call those things? Rubbers.
Galoshes.
The galoshes. There you go. The galoshes, right? So those that go over the shoes. So you're protecting the shoes there, right? So that the place can say is okay. Because bottom line is it's also protecting your feet from being freezing cold. So yeah, okay. To be continued on this subject. Baruch Hashem for Erevin, or maybe not, whatever. It is what it is, as they say. So we're saved from knowing all these halachas. All right. Have a fine night and a good Shabbos.